Video game launches won't always run smoothly. There will inevitably be bugs and glitches that developers will either overlook or neglect. For some gamers, there isn't a budget for post-release fixes, so bugs that exist will remain for the foreseeable future. Certain online games will see bug fixes in major content updates like expansions, but they are mostly reserved for MMOs. By the time the 7th generation consoles released, downloadable content, bug fixes, and balance patches became commonplace. Recently, there is a surge of a new kind of game. The kind where it can, hypothetically, receive support for years to come. Those games are called live service games. Live service games are a relatively new breed of video games where a developer will continually provide content for a certain period of time. The content can be as minuscule as bug fixes and gameplay balancing, or as large as adding an entire game. While the genres are different, these games follow a similar pattern. The base game is released regardless of how much content is provided at launch. There will be a roadmap of some form that details what content will be provided over the next few months or over the course of the entire year. Most of the content provided by the developers will be for free for all players, unless a season pass is thrown into the mix. Certain content like cosmetics can be acquired by either playing the game or paying real-world currency. For better or worse, live service games have changed the video game industry and the approach to game design. While there are some aspects of live service games that can be commended, there's an equal amount of aspects, or in some cases more, that must be put under criticism. This video will highlight games that are under the live service banner and talk about the best, and more often than not, the worst parts of them. My first video on this channel talked about Anthem and my grievances toward it. Sometime after the video was uploaded, I noticed that Monster Hunter World was being discounted on Xbox One. I thought, well, I heard a lot of great things about Monster Hunter, so I may as well try it. The first 20 minutes of playing this game was more fun than the 13 hours spent playing Anthem. That's what I said about Anthem in my last video when talking about Monster Hunter World. So, why are the 20 minutes of playtime with Monster Hunter World more fun than the 13 to 10 hours that I spent playing Anthem? Obviously, there are different methods of storytelling and gameplay involved, but there's something Monster Hunter excels at that Anthem falters on: the value of the package and the business proposition. By definition, Monster Hunter World is a live service game. While it's a $60 title, the game also includes seasonal updates and cosmetic-only microtransactions. Most of the post-launch content that Capcom provides is free for all players. The only exception is the sole expansion, Iceborne, which, in terms of content, is nearly the size of the base game. The microtransactions are limited to cosmetics such as emotes, hair, emblems, and your handler's outfits. While the only purchasable on the Xbox and PlayStation Digital Store, all of these items are the very definition of optional cosmetics. They do not in any shape or form impact the overall experience. This is without mentioning the gameplay progression of Monster Hunter World. I touched upon this subject in my Games of the Decade video, but I'll go into a little bit of detail. All armor and weapons can be crafted provided that players have the right amount of materials. How do you get more materials? Well, by hunting monsters in the world. I mean, that's why it's called Monster Hunter World. In all seriousness, in order to craft the weapons and armor you want, you'll need to hunt a specific monster. If you encountered and defeated a monster a certain amount of time, its location will be revealed on the map, shortening the time to grind significantly. By doing this, the players get to enjoy the game without feeling completely burnt out. So, what's the difference between Monster Hunter World and Anthem? Anthem has cosmetic items to unlock, but not only are the choice of starting cosmetic skins limited, the arguably better items are available to unlock either by grinding coins for hours on end or by purchasing them in the in-game store. The fact that there's an option to pay for these cosmetics means that all the hard work I put into this skin is pointless, when someone else at my skill level or lower can simply buy it outright. Anthem's gameplay loop can be summed up to this. Go here, kill the bad guys, go to the next area, kill more bad guys, gather some important objects, hold your position, go to the final area, kill the boss, that's it. There are story missions, but they're a mix of either going to this location, killing the bad guys, gather orbs of light, or defend a fixed position, or a mixture of all of them. There's little to no variety. To put it simply, Anthem is what Monster Hunter World isn't. A live service that contains little in content and creativity, but expects all the time and attention in the world. And quite frankly, I've had enough. I hope to God that this is the last time I'll ever mention or reference Anthem again. Live service games have this stigma where it charges $60 upfront and expects players to spend all of their life savings on predatory monetization methods, such as loot boxes. Sports games are easy to point out, and games like Battlefront 2 have pushed the boundary on what's acceptable or not. There is something on my mind though. If these live service games had the production quality of Grand Theft Auto, Monster Hunter World, and Anthem, and were to be free to play with microtransactions, would there be as much of a negative reaction from these consumers? This is where games like Fortnite and Modern Warfare Warzone come into play. Fortnite doesn't need any introduction, but I want to stress how much of an impact it made in the game industry. I won't talk about it for too long, but there are a few key points I want to make. Fortnite has received updates on a consistent basis for nearly 3 years. In that time, the game has received 13 seasons, 1 major game overhaul, hundreds of weapon variations, hundreds of unique skins, and many new ways to play. To give a visual example, compare the map from the previous season to this new season. Most of the map is flooded, and it's more crucial to use boats and whirlpools to get around places. This is on top of the occasional, limited time events, such as the Deadpool event from last season, the Stormtrooper skin from the Star Wars event, and recently, these Aquaman and Captain America skins. For a while, Fortnite was on top of the world, but for over half a year, another competitor has stepped up to the plate to dethrone the Battle Royale giants. Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Up until recently, the Call of Duty series is an annually released franchise that breaks sales records year after year. This is on top of the extra monetization that was added over the years, such as season passes introduced in Black Ops 2 and predatory loot boxes in Advanced Warfare. So what does the Modern Warfare reboot do differently than the past entries when it comes to monetization? Quite a few good things. It's not enough to commend Activision of all publishers, but it's a step in the right direction. First off, season passes are no more. All future content such as maps, modes, weapons, and characters are available for free to all players. A $10 battle pass replaces the season pass, where players can earn a variety of items as they play the game. Loot boxes are a thing of the past. All extra cosmetics, such as this anime skin pack, are optional cosmetics that can be purchased with COD points that are either earned in the battle pass or purchased with real-world currency. Sounds familiar with another Battle Royale game. It's clear that Activision wanted a game that has similar monetization methods implemented in Fortnite into their own games, because it's a formula that sees major profit. However, there's a reason why I'm not as irked about Fortnite and Modern Warfare's current monetization methods. These games are free to play. Fortnite Battle Royale is completely free, while Modern Warfare's Warzone mode is free to all players with the option to buy the full game. There are a few problems I have about this new free-to-play model. First is the value. Value is something that's judged in a case-by-case basis. Every person has a different opinion on what is considered valuable in their eyes, myself included. In my opinion, some of the cosmetics on Fortnite and Modern Warfare don't really reflect the value of what you're paying for. Let's take Fortnite for example. This skin? $8. $8 for a recolor of a default skin? The model for this character hasn't even updated since the last chapter. This skin? $12. At least a bit of effort was put into creating it, but even I would think the price is a bit steep, since only the body changed and the only addition to the head are the glasses. This other skin is also $12, but it's clear that more time and effort is put into the skin. I would say it's worth the asking price. And what about this legendary skin that's $20? Buy it! I don't care if I get kink shamed to oblivion. I will die on this lonely hill and declare that this is the perfect skin to have. As I illustrated, some cosmetic items either have a lot of effort put into it or simply retextured it and call it a day. The other thing, and this applies to all live service games that is more important to consider now than years ago, the Battle Pass is time limited. I don't mean to sound hyperbolic, but time is a finite commodity that not many people have the luxury to have. Sure, children and content creators who play video games for a living won't have much difficulty in completing the Battle Pass, but not everyone is like that. What about those who have important obligations, those who attend school, those who work with a strict schedule? Sometimes life throws a curveball at us at the moment we least expect it. I understand that what I'm complaining about doesn't apply to everyone, but developers should consider the players who only have time to put in a few sessions once in a while. By this point, I made it seem like I hate the free-to-play model of games, but I don't. In fact, I would be the person who would push for this kind of video game model. The less barriers a game has, the more people would be interested in trying it out. It worked for Killer Instinct. When you consider what past Call of Duty games had in place for their monetization strategies, Modern Warfare's Battle Pass and cosmetic-only direct purchases are a favored alternative than the pay-to-win loot box mechanics of the past. Personally, I would prefer to not have any microtransactions in any of my games, but I'm not naive enough to think that it's going to be that way. Not with Activision at the helm. I'm alright with microtransactions in my games, as long as there are free-to-play versions of these games. To put it simply, this is alright. This next example, on the other hand, is not. Let's talk a bit about cosmetics in the Gears of War series. In prior Gears games, players unlock characters and some weapon skins via gameplay and accomplish certain achievements and milestones. You know, like a real game. That all changed in Gears 4, where most unlocks can either be earned by grinding or buying packs with in-game currency or real-world currency, or crafting them with scrap from burned items. While it wasn't as intrusive as Battlefront 2's loot boxes, it didn't feel like you earned the skin because of your skill. You just got lucky to get that legendary skin that one day. Enter Gears 5, where some aspects in the monetization are changed for the better and for the worst. On one hand, a majority of the cosmetic content can be unlocked via gameplay. Want to play as General Ram? You can unlock him by playing the game. Want this sick weapon skin? Unlocked by playing the game. That Cole skin? Gameplay! Nearly everything you work towards can simply be unlocked by playing the game, whether it's in normal multiplayer, horde mode, and escape mode. Awesome, right? How could the developers screw it up? If I didn't ask that question, then there wouldn't be anything wrong in the first place now, would there? While it's nice to have things unlocked like a real video game, the methods of unlocking cosmetic items can be mildly confusing at best and painfully frustrating at worst for first-timers. Remember that Cole skin I mentioned earlier? The only way to unlock it is by earning stars to level up this Battle Pass-like progression system. I know it's called Tour of Duty, but it's essentially a Battle Pass. Thankfully, it's free for all players, but they would need to sink an unhealthy amount of time to get the Hivebuster Cole skin. That sick weapon skin? You can earn it by random chance by opening supply caches. These are earned through gameplay, but it's a slow grind to open even one. Outside of scrap, which I'll get into a little later in the video, there's no way to buy them, so playing the game is the only way. But what about General Ram? It's worse. There are two ways to get any post-launch character. You can go through the easy way by purchasing the character outright using iron earned through the Battle Pass, buying them with real-world currency, or buying the character through a bundle. Or you can go the hard way and craft a totem using scrap that can be earned in those supply caches mentioned earlier when you get a duplicate item. Well, that doesn't sound bad, right? That's just the first step. The second part is to complete all of the indicated objectives on the totem. And these challenges are ridiculous. Earn a total of 60,000 XP? Do you have any idea how long that takes? Each level up is worth about 1,000 XP. That means in order to get General Ram, you need to level up 60 times, including completing the other challenges that's just as grindy as the others. Who the hell has this much time in their hands? And this is only one character. You have to repeat that process with every single character. If you're a person with a busy schedule, you're better off buying the character than wasting your time grinding. All of this is on top of the cosmetics. Who am I kidding? Is this even considered cosmetic-only purchases when you have characters that drastically change gameplay? If you ask me, I think the design of unlocking content is intentional. Now, I don't want to be in full conspiracy mode, but it's a little convenient when developers offer solutions to all of these problems by selling XP boosters or in-game currency. All of this reminds me too much of mobile games like Clash of Clans. Think about it. You can either wait patiently and go through the grind in order to get what you want, or you can pay to skip the wait time. This is something I expect from those kind of games, not a AAA game with a real budget. As a side note, while I was recording footage, I checked on what's available to purchase in the in-game store. From there, I found two bundles. One was the Carmine bundle, and another was the Terminator Dark Fate bundle. Both cost approximately $18 each. When I checked the contents of each pack, I was mildly upset, to put it lightly. In the Carmine bundle, it contains 3 characters, 3 alternative costumes, skins for each weapon, and blood splatters. Meanwhile, the Terminator pack contains only 2 characters, a banner, and 1 blood spray. Now, I mentioned before how value varies from person to person. Let me ask you this. On what planet is a bundle of 3 characters and their alt skins, a collection of weapon skins, and other cosmetic items valued as much as having 2 characters? One of which you can't use outside of versus modes. There's an argument to be had about rarities, but what would you rather pay $18 for? A crossover bundle with 2 characters from a movie that single-handedly killed the Terminator franchise, or a bundle with fan-favorite characters in the Gear series with a bunch of cosmetic options? Thankfully, the rest of the Carmine brothers are unlockable via gameplay, and their respective challenges are fair compared to the rest of the cast. But the Terminator characters are only available if you purchase them with real money. It wouldn't be that bad if this was a free-to-play game, like Modern Warfare Warzone or Fortnite, but it's not. It's a $60 game that exploits the player into unlocking content quicker by spending money. Listen, I love the Xbox brand, but I'm not dumb enough to come to the realization that what this game attempted was not as consumer friendly as the devs make it out to be. You know what sucks about all this? There's a crossover bundle that celebrates the 10-year anniversary of my game of the decade, Halo Reach. Under normal circumstances, I would be over the moon for anything Halo related. Hell, I said I would give Forza Horizon 4 an 11 out of 10 just for including a Halo event, and I will stand by that statement. As much as I think it's awesome that characters like Emil and Kat earned the game, no amount of fan service will ever make me forgive and forget what Gears 5 tried to pull. As we approach the end of this video, there's a question that needs to be answered. Should publishers do away with these live service games and put their focus on a complete, content-rich game? Absolutely. But are they going to do that? No. Games like Grand Theft Auto, Destiny, and Fortnite have proved to be too profitable to turn back to the way things used to be. There are some rare examples of live service games done right and respectfully, but they are few and far between. For every Monster Hunter World, there's about a dozen Ghost Recon Breakpoints and Fallout 76s. As a consumer, what can we do? Can we prevent more of these live service games to be made? If this was the year 2014, I would say, vote with your wallets. Let game publishers know that these kind of games aren't welcome. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you ask, the wallets have spoken, and Destiny became the most successful new IP in recent memory, and in turn, popularized live service games. We had many opportunities following Destiny's release to alter the course of history, but to no avail. Recently, it seems like the live service train is slowing down, as the consumer is slowly realizing that these types of games are released either unfinished and or broken. There's only so many broken promises publishers and developers can make before the consumer grows weary from hearing hollow words. This is also including government intervention, as publishers such as EA flew too close to the sun. In moments like these, we should celebrate, right? A world without live service games. No more incomplete buggy games. No more time-limited events. No more predatory loot boxes. I should feel ecstatic about the possibility of less live service games coming out. But more than anything, I'm worried about the future of monetization in video games. As history would dictate, if one avenue of constant revenue becomes unprofitable, a new one will open up. We had, and some will continue to have, annual releases, season passes, online passes, microtransactions, loot boxes, battle passes, and recently, subscription services. What could be in store for the consumers down the line? I fear for what's to come, for the future remains unknown. One thing is certain regarding these publishers, however. Greed is forever.